Live from Texas, this is the Will Cain Show. Right now, President Trump is on his way back from the Netherlands after meeting with NATO leaders. While he was there, he announced plans to speak with Iran.
We're going to talk to them next week with Iran. We may sign an agreement. I don't know. To me, I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, they had a war, they fought. Now they're going back to their world. I don't care if I have an agreement or not. I said, Iran will not have nuclear. Well, we blew it up. It's blown up to kingdom come.
He also discussed his meeting today with a well-dressed, suited up Ukrainian President Zelensky.
It was very nice, actually. You know, we had little rough times sometimes. He was couldn't have been nicer. I think he'd like to see an end to this. I do. I think what I took from the meeting couldn't have been nicer, actually. But I took from the meeting that he'd like to see it end. I think it's a great time to end it. I'm going to speak to Vladimir Putin, see if we can get it ended. He's fighting a brave battle. It's a tough battle.
Well, he had good talks with Ukraine. He did lay into Spain for refusing to increase their defense spending to 5% and offered, by the way, a unique solution to get them to pay up.
They're the only country that won't pay the full up. They want to stay at 2%. I think it's terrible. And, you know, they're doing very well. The economy is very well. And that economy could be blown right out of the water with something bad happening. We're negotiating with Spain on a trade deal. We're going to make them pay twice as much. And I'm actually serious about that.
And before he left, he got a new title.
Mark Rutte, the NATO chief, who is your friend, he called you daddy earlier. Do you regard your NATO allies as kind of children?
No, he likes me. I think he likes me. If he doesn't, I'll let you know. I'll come back and I'll hit him hard, okay? No.
But he did
it very affectionate. Daddy, you're my daddy.
How does President Trump listen to that? He called you daddy and not crack a smile, at least not initially. Meanwhile, in the background, Secretary of State Marco Rubio cracking up. So let's see if we can put that to the test now. Let's go to the daddy of all reporters, Peter Doocy, live now from the Netherlands. Peter.
Yes, well, I don't know if it'll be the daddy diplomacy trip or the daddy doctrine, but there's obviously a lot going on, and the intelligence here that we are hearing about is evolving. We're now told that this Defense Intelligence Agency preliminary report that suggested Iran's nuclear facilities on Saturday were only set back by a couple of months was only based on 1 day's worth of intelligence reporting. That is something that's supposed to take days or weeks, so it was not coordinated yet, and it was not ready to go. As for how it got out there, White House officials are suggesting that the leak came from Capitol Hill because they are going to stop sharing so much classified information with lawmakers while this FBI leak probe goes on. And as for the leaker, there is a new suggestion from the White House that that person should go to jail.
What kind of consequence could the leaker face?
They should go to jail.
President Trump says there's new intel out of Iran, and the streamlined version of this is coming to us from the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard. She is saying, new intelligence confirms what POTUS has stated numerous times. Iran's nuclear facilities have been destroyed. If the Iranians choose to rebuild, they would have to rebuild all 3 facilities entirely, which would likely take years to do. I had a chance to talk to the U.S. ambassador to NATO, Matt Whitaker. He told me that he does not think that this trip could have gone any better. And there was not a ton of coverage of President Trump's sit-down with Volodymyr Zelensky, but it sounds like over the last couple months, those two have really patched things up.
Yeah, well, I was in that room, and the meeting obviously was very productive. He's frustrated with both sides. Right now, he appears to be more frustrated with Russia because Zelensky wants peace. He's saying, I'm ready to show up. I'm ready to, work on a peace deal, and we need an immediate ceasefire, unconditional ceasefire. And we're just waiting, for the Russians, obviously.
But first, there is going to be some kind of a meeting next week between American diplomats and Iranian diplomats. White House officials think that Saturday's bombings brought the Iranians back to the table, but the president is in no hurry to sign on to anything with them. Will?
Got some kind of Dutch biker gang doing a drive-by during your reporter hit, Peter. Very butch, very daddy. See if you can keep those Dutch bikers or those drivers right there under control in the Netherlands. Thank you, Peter.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.